Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be a reading wrap up, so I will be reviewing all the books that I finished in the last month. The ones I've enjoyed, the ones not so much, the one I'm currently reading, the ones I haven't been done. April was definitely a decluttering kind of month for me, but that's okay. It's one of my big goals this year. It might feel a bit discouraging at times, but I'm really trying to focus on going through the books on my shelf that I've been accumulating, hoarding, and trying to make some decisions. And I'm doing that also for May. May's going to be really exciting, but I was a little bit in a reading slump, which seems to be done. It seems to, but I wanted to try and pick some really popular books to see if they were for me or not. Basically things that were a little bit outside my comfort zone, but I had heard they were very readable, and they were. The first one was this one. This is One Dark Window. This is an adult fantasy romance. So I don't tend to read a ton of romance, which is a complete lie if you look at my TBR, the list of books that I've actually finished this month. But usually it's not really my thing. But this one was definitely something that I would have really loved as a teenager. That's why I'm saying adult. It kind of is, but there's an insta-love romance, which in my head automatically pretty much puts it into the Y category. Like, it's definitely a trope that is really common, but this one, while it's fantasy, it was giving me a little bit like dystopian vibes. Like, if you've enjoyed all of these books like Hunger Game, Divergent, I feel like that's the same vibe in a good way. Again, extremely readable. I read it in like 3 days and I overall enjoyed it. The magic system is a little bit complicated to explain, but basically in that world there's this like evil magic that can get you sick, and the main character was when she was a child, and if you are caught, basically, you, the king, just doesn't want people with magic. If you survive the sickness, you develop, some powers. And she thinks she has no power, but she hears this voice in her head, this monster in her head. So while the king is trying to get all of those people, he's also trying to accumulate these cards that do have magic, but apparently that's very different. But if you accumulate all these cards that people are hiding that they own, you can defeat the mist that is getting people sick. This is what I mean by, like, it's a little complicated to explain. But she is, a young adult, and she ends up going to court, sees this boy, things happen, and unfortunately they're forced to pretend that they're courting. So, you get the vibes. I did actually end up enjoying it quite a bit. Like, obviously rolled my eyes a few times, but I completely understand the hype. And I wasn't going to continue because I thought it was a trilogy, but a few of you commented on the vlog that this is actually a duology and that the second book is better, which obviously opinions are always going to differ if I agree or not, but I've decided to put my name on the waiting list at the library for the audiobook. It's like lower commitment, so if I don't enjoy it, I can just, return it to the library from my phone, so zero commitment basically. So yeah, I think I'm gonna round this up to a 4, even though I feel like I made it sound like it wasn't great. I feel like for me, it did what it needed to do at a time where I needed it, So if you're looking to just have fun, read a fantasy romance, I would give this one a shot. I get it with this one. The one that I don't get, though, I'm sorry, but I also read Divine Rivals, and no, this one I don't get it. This one is definitely YA. You cannot convince me otherwise. And I guess it's fantasy also. The main character is a journalist, rough childhood, mother, blah, blah, blah. In the sense that, like, her brother basically went to war and they have heard nothing from him since her mother passes away. Like, her mother was an alcoholic. There's a lot that happens there, but she has been trying to become a journalist, and there's this like enemy at work, this boy who is also trying to get the same job as her. So things are happening, but at the same time she receives mysterious letters between someone through the bottom of the door, and like things are happening. Again, kind of enemies to lovers, which in general, in theory, I like it. But while I was trying to like get into it and root for everything that was happening, she ends up going to war, again, to be a journalist. I was still willing to suspend, my disbelief, but my issue with the ending made me kind of hate the book. So endings will, they will work for you or not, but for me it was a big no. So I'm giving this 2-star. I personally don't get the hype. I don't recommend it, but feel free to obviously convince other people if you love this. I understand that I'm pretty picky with these specific kind of books, so it might just be me. Might. By the way, if I have a lisp, it's because I'm back to wearing Invisaligns again. Like, it's been 4 years on and off, and it's recent, so like, it's hard to talk. Anyway, another book that I did finish was an audiobook, and it was The Girl Who Chased the Moon by Sarah Addison Allen. This is my 4th book by the author. It's my first YA buyer, and I don't think she has many other ones, but Again, something that I think I would have liked more as a teenager, because you're following this young girl. She goes back to the little town where her mother grew up. She doesn't know the people there. She doesn't know the history there. And she is with her grandfather, who is a widow. Is that the same word for men? She kind of discovers why her mother left. A boy died. Was she responsible? There's a little bit of magic. I feel like in general, this author tends to include like low fantasy, like is it magical realism, is it low fantasy, kind of those vibes, which I tend to be pretty picky with magical realism, but I have enjoyed some of her other books, Other Birds, that's the other book, and even though it was more magical realism, and I enjoyed her other ones that were fantasy. So not a bad book. It's just, again, YA romance, which not really my thing, but I feel like as an audiobook, it was just a pleasant book. I have nothing bad to say about it. It was interesting enough that I finished it, but I'm going to round it down to 3 just because I can't help but compare it to other books, which were better in my opinion. But I'm basically trying to read everything she's written, so... Then I did my famous read it or unhaul it, and it's always a lot of fun. I feel like this month I definitely did a decluttering. So the 2 books that I didn't finish, and then we're going to go with the one that I did finish. The first one was The Helm at Midnight. This is an adult fantasy, kind of murder mystery at the same time, which I love those in theory. They don't always work for me. And this one, the topic seemed interesting. I did not make it far. I think I was just under 100 pages when I decided to give up on it. You have this murder mystery, like this person that is really unwell mentally, murdering people, probably due to this like artifact, like magical artifact that is making him do this. Did not go far enough to really get all of the info, but the writing, there was just something that did not work for me, and I ended up looking up at reviews and I wasn't the only one, so I just felt reassured and decided to give up on it. So some people did like it. Again, in theory it sounded interesting, but I just could not do it, and I'm trying to really learn to put down books when I'm not enjoying them, trying to not force myself, because I keep doing that and it just puts me in a reading slump. Like, why would I do that? So I gave up on it, even though it hurt. And I also decided to give up on Daughter of Smoke and Bone, even though a lot of you commented that it gets better. I'm trying not to force myself to do that, especially, again, YA fantasy. I'm trying to just move on with the ones that are on my shelf, unless they really grip me, because sometimes it happens. This one, I just couldn't do it because it's fantasy. It sounded like it was going to get better, maybe, but... She's really focused at first about the fact that this boy broke her heart, took her virginity, and I am too old for this stuff. So I decided to just move on, and I'm okay with it. Maybe I would have liked it a lot more as a teenager when I first got it, but I'm okay moving on. The next one I did like, and it is The 13th Tale, which that is hard with this one. This one was on the wrong shelf. For some reason, I had put it in the sci-fi section, but it's because for some reason I mixed it up with a different topic. I thought it was about someone reliving their life over and over again, which is a topic I like, a trope that I like. But no, it's a woman telling for the first time her real life story after lying about it like 100 times. So she's basically telling this girl who grew up in a bookstore. We all like that, right? And she decides to pick her, she's not sure why, to finally tell it all, write this book, her biography. And she goes to this old house, remote house, and she just tells her dark family secret. So if you like gothic kind of books, I don't feel like I see this book going around at all, but I liked it. My edition is actually used, and you can see that this book belongs to Betty. Now it belongs to me. But yes, if you like dark gothic kind of books with people doing awful things, I feel like I like them in theory, but I wasn't always lucky with them. A lot of really popular ones like Rebecca in Wuthering Heights, like I really wanted to love them and I was kind of meh about them. This one I did enjoy. I do think that they make me feel a little dumb sometimes, and like I just want to put it out there so maybe others will relate. Like these classic gothic, I feel like sometimes you get to the end and you're like, I'm not 100% sure what happened there. I felt a little bit like this with this one, but I overall really liked it. My only mistake was to read it right now instead of like the fall. So if you're looking to add another book on your TBR for the fall, I would recommend this one. I will not tell you anything else about the topic unless you ask, but like frankly, you don't want to know. Like it's just family drama, messed up family, and it was interesting. I liked it. I'm giving it 4. -1 star for making me feel stupid. Okay, the next audiobook that I finished was The Bodyguard, and this was recommended in comment section, and I'm sorry I didn't like it. It's not fully true. I did like it in the beginning, like there were a few good moments, but I hated the ending. long story short, you have this woman. She's petite girly pop who ends up being the perfect bodyguard. That was already shaky grounds for me. But she ends up being stuck pretending to be dating this rich, famous, hot guy. And unfortunately, you know, things start getting... So there were a few good moments, but like I said, I didn't like the ending. I really struggled to finish the audiobook. And I feel like when you struggle to finish the audiobook, it's not a good sign. I feel like audiobooks are pretty easy in general to finish. You don't have to, you know, sit down. You can do other things at the same time. So yeah, I'm running it down to 2 because of the ending. So, oh my God, can you hear her? Clawdia is like yelling at the door. There she is. I am going to regret letting her free in this room, but she was breaking my heart with these yells. So have fun, but not too much fun, please. So the next book that I did finish, Emily Henry. She came out with Funny Story, and this is my 5th book by her. She was the one that made me decide that maybe I should actually give romance a chance, because I read Book Lovers and Beach Read basically back to back and ended up really enjoying both of them, because the main characters were older. They were like in their 30s and they were just not emotionally immature, or so I thought. Then I read People We Meet on Vacation and the other one that I can't think of the title, The Pink One. And these two, didn't love them. I felt like I had the same issues that I have with a lot of romance. So yeah, so I decided to give it a shot. And this one would go in between. There were some good moments. There were some weaker moments for me. The premise was bound to make things kind of messy. You have the main character. She's engaged. She just moved across the country to live with him in his house that he just bought. And he has a female best friend. They've been friends for 20-something years. She's also dating someone. And on his bachelor night, he ends up realizing he has feelings for the best friend and kicks her out. Gives her 1 week to move out. A-hole behavior. So what happens is that she ends up moving in with the boyfriend of the female best friend. And they end up pretending that they're dating just to, you know, have fun. And things get more interesting. I have to say, I appreciated that the other boyfriend was emotionally mature. I feel like I just can't deal with like the really miscommunication, just immature. Again, I don't read a ton of romance except for this month, and I appreciate that a lot. I do think things went really quickly, like rebound style, but whatever. At first I struggled because the main female character came off as like really insecure, and it's now a pet peeve of mine, but again, it makes sense obviously with the context. I think it's just like the mix of like, oh, I've just been broken up with, I'm gonna fall in love with someone really quickly, and insecurity. It's like too much for me. So yeah, there were definitely a few good moments. I don't feel like the banter was as funny. Like there were obviously a few bits, but that's what I remember most in like Beach Read and Book Lover. But overall, I enjoyed it. That's why I'm saying that it's kind of in between for me, the 2 groups of her other books. I do still think it's worth reading, but it's not a favorite. The color is, though, super pretty. Let's talk about more books that I did not finish. I put down books, audiobooks, so quickly this month. I'm really trying, and I feel like audiobook, I need to be like more harsh. The first one was I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, which is nonfiction-ish. It's only 4 hours, and I put it down like 17% into it. You know when you know you're not gonna like the book? That's what I decided to do. I'm moving on. I'm trying to be harsh. This was on my TBR for a long time, so no thank you. And I also put down Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers down really quickly, which I have the physical copy of it. I thought it was going to be fun. I really wanted to try to read, I think it was last year, more books with older female characters, because I was so sick of reading stories from like point of view of 18-year-old. Like I just didn't want that anymore. And this one, I could feel I wasn't going to love it. So I decided to, again, move on really quickly because I'm trying to. I also put down, I don't think I put it on my list, but I put down The Paper really quickly because the narration, I don't know, instantly like a reaction of no, this is not going to happen. So I put it down. Again, I'm trying not to question it, even though the reviews are positive. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but either way, the ones I'm currently in the middle of. I did not make much progress really in this. This is the last interview and other conversation. It's basically a series that interviews or uses older interviews of famous people, I think, but authors specifically. She's one of my all-time favorite authors. So of course I will want to read more by her, but I've only read a couple interviews and the first 2 suck. sucked. But the third one was good, and I'm hoping to continue because, again, I want anything and everything by her because at this point, I believe I only have 1 official books left by her, and that's really sad. Apparently Star Wars went too, so we'll see. But yeah, that suck. I'm almost done. And the other one that I started is this one. This is The 40 Rules of Love. I've read another book by the author, actually really liked it, and I wanted to try more, but I'm not super far into it. I mean, I'm 169 pages, so like, yes, but I need to finish it. It's just very slow pace. Not bad. Like, you just get into the book and savor it, but I don't know when I'm going to finish it because I have to do the challenge this month. So I'm going to try though. Long story short, this woman is reading this book that is almost written for her. It's obviously talking about love-ish, but she is going through it. She is, you know, a classic woman who got married. Her husband is cheating on her. She has kids. Things are hard for her. She feels lost, and she reads probably the book at the right time kind of thing. We'll see. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I feel like that month was rough. Hi, Clawdia. Sweetie baby. Look at her. She's the most adorable baby ever. So yeah, April was kind of a rough month, I guess. I had a pleasant time, but I didn't really love that many books that I read, but that's okay. Like I said, May is looking much better. I'm doing my challenge, reading the books that have been on my shelf for a long time and making decisions. I'm also going to be listening to audiobooks as I do that. I just started one that I think I'm going to like. What was the title? Just for the Summer, which is another romance. Who am I? Who am I? I've been trying to just... Do you want to be held or not? You're very confusing, poo-poo. I'm trying to just go with the flow, accept that my last 2 brain cells are struggling sometimes, and that's okay. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know which books you have been reading lately, anything good, anything you're looking forward to for the summer, and I'll put more videos on the screen, including my May TBR. So basically, I've been reorganizing my shelf and showing you what's going to happen because that's going to be my next video, the first vlog for it. So I'll see you then. Bye.